Hi, friends. I'm Ruba Bird, pastor of Eugene Friends Church in Eugene, Oregon. And I'm not in church right now, as you can see, although in a way I am. I'm on the highest point I could get to easily today, Kelly Butte in Springfield, Oregon. And to the west, to the east, the view behind me that I hope you can see is of Springfield and of the Cascade Mountains in the distance. Even a white cap back there. The Three Sisters, I think. I wanted to come up here and see if I could share from this spot with you today because of the particular experiences I want to look at. During that last week of his life, we have accounts from all of the Gospels of the things that Jesus did. Some of them are just tiny little snippets, but they carry so much about his experience. I'm going to read two verses to you. One of them is from Matthew 23:37, something Jesus said as he looked out over the city that he knew and loved. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I've longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. And then from Luke 19:41 and 42. And when he, Jesus, drew near to Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it, saying, would that you, even you, had known on this day the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. I've been thinking today about praying for the world, praying for places and people I don't know. Been thinking about how I want to do that. I try to do that. My friends remind me to do that when they speak of events in the world that are important to them. But it's really easy for me, and maybe for you, to stay in my comfort zone, even when I'm praying for the world. I try to think of those who are in trouble, those whose basic needs are barely met, those who are on the ragged edge of despair and isolation, perhaps depression, mental illness, those who are separated from their loved ones. I can go on and on. You know the list. You know the list of the things that we see and hear about. And we open our hearts to pray for God's presence to be in those places in a life-changing, transformational way. But what I've been realizing is I often, most of the time, pray those prayers kind of from a distance, curled up in my comfortable spot at home, or maybe in our beautiful sanctuary at the church building. That there's a way that distances me some from the people and situations I'm praying for. It gives me a bit of protection, maybe, that I think that I need. But Jesus was out there walking the streets of Jerusalem his whole life. Remember the story of Jesus as a 12-year-old boy getting lost from his parents, teaching in the temple he taught in these last days of his life. When I picture Jesus weeping for that city he knew so well, he was loving the city, he was loving the people in that city, because he had been out there with them. His feet were caked with the dust of their streets, just like theirs was. He rubbed shoulders with all kinds of people. He got into a lot of trouble with the self-proclaimed righteous people for eating and drinking with sinners, those not like they pictured themselves to be. Jesus wept for them because he knew them. And now we're looking west. Eugene, way out to the beautiful coast range as the sun is beginning to set. This lovely, lovely mountaintop view. As I was thinking about Jesus' compassion for Jerusalem, I remembered something pivotal that happened to Thomas Merton, who wrote prolifically about the life of the Spirit. I went to seminary in Louisville many, many years ago, and I learned of Thomas Merton there and read some of his writings, and was amazed that he had lived most of his life not far from where I was, right there in Louisville, Kentucky. He entered a Trappist monastery in Kentucky at age 26, seeking some stability after a dark and uncertain time in his young life. He remained a monk for the next 27 years until his death. He craved the solitude and silence and the separation from the world. Not long after he entered the monastery, he wrote, "I had entered into a solitude that was an impregnable fortress. It was a peace that did not depend on houses or jobs or places. It was a peace that time and the world could not give." Yet, 17 years later, in 1958, Thomas Merton had an epiphany that changed his life. One day, on a visit to the city of Louisville, he found himself on a busy street downtown. Here's what he said. "In Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut Streets, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all these people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another, even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, of spurious self-isolation in a special world, the world of renunciation and supposed holiness. This sense of liberation from an illusory difference was such a relief and such a joy to me that I almost laughed out loud. I have the immense joy of being human, a member of a race in which God's own self, God himself, became incarnate. And if only everybody could realize this. But it cannot be explained. There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around, shining like the sun." Luke 21:37 says this about Jesus a few days before his death. "And every day he was teaching in the temple, but at night he went out and lodged on the Mount of Olives. And early in the morning all the people came to him in the temple to hear him." I found this photograph taken recently of Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives. This is what Jesus saw every evening, those last few days of his life, as he climbed up with his friends to spend the night in that beautiful garden on the Mount of Olives. I look at Eugene and Springfield spread out before me from my perch here on the Butte of Kelly, Kelly Butte, it looks so much like that scene that Jesus saw from the Mount of Olives. And as I think of his love for Jerusalem, for the world, the love that took him from that place all the way through the rest of the week, I long to see and really understand deeply the bond of connection that I have, that God has created for me with every living soul here in this community and everywhere. This connection cannot, friends, be manufactured by our own will. You and I are too easily affected by the differences, the misunderstandings, the conflicts that I know I allow to distort how I see others. The connection with each other's shining souls can only be forged through grace, the powerful, transforming, healing grace and forgiveness that God pours into and through each one of us, through you, through me, through everyone, if we open up and let it flow. This grace binds us together in every moment, in every heartbeat. I think I need to really spend time this week and ongoing praying in motion, out here in the world, in my community, not just curled up on my comfortable couch space at home, but where God leads my feet to take me, to look at the faces of those around me, to ask the Spirit to help me see them and see myself as the beloved, beloved children God sees us as being. Members of one family, through Christ, through Jesus, who gave himself for us, that we might be one in the bond of love.